And good morning and welcome to the WSJM Morning Show, the video live stream. I'm Ken Lundberg. It's Wednesday, August 13th, 2025, and my special guest in the studio today is Amy Dirlam, the Assistant Superintendent for St. Joseph Public Schools. Good morning, Amy.
Good morning, Ken. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. I'm going to have you bring that microphone up close and personal.
All
Sorry,
right.
there you go.
Like that?
Yep, perfect. Okay. All right. And full disclosure, I used to work with your husband, Mike
Yes.
Dirlam, whose birthday it is today.
It is. So happy birthday, Mike.
Happy birthday, Mike. What's he doing special for his birthday today?
Well, we are planning, weather permitting. We love boating and fishing.
Oh,
so
yeah.
We're heading out this evening with our son, who was recently married, and his wife.
Congratulations.
And we're going to try our luck tonight. We'll see.
Fantastic. So what do you fish for? Do you like fishing yourself?
I tolerate fishing.
Okay.
I'm the mother of two boys, and so I have learned
Very nice.
to embrace it and be excited about their love of fishing. And we're also big golfers in our household. Not myself, but my family loves golf as well. So
Okay.
we're going to fish, I think, tonight for perch.
Okay.
I'll be the captain. I will drive the boat, and they will fish.
You do the important role.
Yes.
Okay. So when my dad took me fishing, he would be the captain and the chief fisherman. And so in the lake, he would usually fish the banks because that's where the fish hang out.
Sure.
And he would guide the boat so that he had the best fishing spots. And I was supposed to cast out in the middle of the lake. How many fish are there in the middle of the lake? Zero.
Zero.
Yeah.
Yes.
So anyway, do you do that?
I just listen to where they tell me to do.
Okay.
So whatever they say, that's where we go, because as far as finding the fish, that is not my strength.
Okay. Do you think artificial intelligence could help you find fish?
I'm sure it could, and probably is helping many very serious fishermen.
See, that's the funny thing. So this hour, we're going to talk about artificial intelligence with Amy, because she's taken that charge, that mantle for the St. Joseph Public School Districts to be their representative on a local level, a county level, at the state level as well.
Yes, exactly.
And so what's funny to me is how many ways artificial intelligence is already present in our lives.
And I think that's the big piece of this, is that, a couple of years ago, artificial intelligence and the ease of use with it became mainstream.
Right.
It's not new, right? Yeah. Artificial intelligence has been around a long time, back to the 50s. People have been studying it, researching it. And it's been happening in the background.
Yeah.
But then with the onset of OpenAI and ChatGPT, it became easier for people like you and I to interact with artificial intelligence.
Yeah, now we can interact with it.
That's when it exploded.
Yeah. On our phones, on our computers.
Our phones, our computers. And, it's been like you just said, it's present in almost every aspect of our lives. Yeah. And so I think it's actually a good thing probably that it's come to the forefront, because it's making us think about intentional use and how we can bring that into our education system as well. Okay.
All right. We'll be exploring that this hour here on the WSJM Morning Show with Amy Dirlam. We're first going to learn a bit more about her background. We'll get the origin story. We'll say happy birthday to Mike a couple of times.
Perfect.
So what's his favorite food? Is he going to get his and cake? What kind of cake does he like?
Oh goodness. Well, he's a birthday tradition is peach cobbler.
Oh,
so
okay. Good time of year for that.
Yeah, it's a good time of year. Tradition back from his parents.
Okay.
Favorite food? Oh man, gosh. I would say anything kind of spicy.
Oh,
yeah,
okay. Like Mexican or Indian or something?
Mexican,
any of that?
Probably more Mexican food.
Okay.
Or he loves wings.
Buffalo wings.
Yes.
All right. We'll be back and find out more about the food choices of Mike Dirlam. But no, we're going to talk about artificial intelligence with Amy here in just a few moments on the WSJM Morning Show. We have to get some local news out of the way first, and weather and sports on the radio, all that fun stuff. It is the WSJM Morning Show. Be right back.
Credit card bill came and we're maxed out.
Maxed out cards, rent is due. We just need some extra cash to help us get by.
Maybe we should go to 27cash.com.
With our bad credit,
27cash.com is one of the largest personal loan networks. They can help people with any type of credit get up to $5,000, and cash can hit our bank account as soon as tomorrow.
When you need extra cash, go to 27cash.com. That's 27cash.com. 27cash.com.
WSJM News now. Team coverage from the WSJM newsroom on News Talk Sports 94.9 WSJM.
7:05, it's the WSJM Morning Show. Good morning, I'm Ken Lundberg. We're learning things already about artificial intelligence on the video live stream. We've already started our discussion, and we'll have it here on the radio in just a moment. We'll continue with Amy Dirlam, who is the Assistant Superintendent for St. Joseph Public Schools, artificial intelligence. She represents for artificial intelligence in the school, for the school district, so locally and then across the county and across the state. She's involved with some of those AI discussions. How are we thinking about it as far as education is concerned? So we'll talk about that with her and a whole bunch of other related aspects here in a few moments. We'll give you a basic primer on artificial intelligence as well, because you know everything. You program artificial intelligence, right? No, I'm kidding.
No, I think there are, I would say, no experts because it is moving so quickly.
I know and it's funny, you hear about the quote unquote experts or the people who are doing the AI stuff, and I don't even know what they're doing, but they're getting paychecks of like $200 million a day or something like that. I don't know.
Well, it is a field where people are going to need knowledge, but also understanding and intentionality, and that's our role in the education sphere.
Yeah, so we'll talk about that and all the ramifications and perspectives that should be included. That's coming up this hour right here on the WSJM Morning Show. Stay on the radio to join us for part of that, but if you want the full conversation, where do you go? YouTube, Facebook, or on the WSJM app and watch the video live stream. Okay, we'll continue that in just a moment right here. First off, we've got to get some weather forecast for today. It does call just for a slight chance of rain. I think we cleared out what we had last night. And otherwise, it's going to be sunny today with a high around 83 degrees, lower humidity, much lower humidity. Pleasant out there right now, weather-wise?
Not too bad. A little humid, though.
Still a little
I
humid?
Think it was still
okay.
a little humid.
We're supposed to clear that out. I want that out. No, low
Agreed.
humidity, please. Northwest winds 5 to 10 miles per hour. Tonight's forecast, mostly clear and again cooler. A low overnight around 57 degrees. North winds 5 miles per hour. Thursday's forecast, sunny and high of 84 degrees tomorrow. Winds out of the north 5 to 10 miles per hour. Then as we get to Friday, we're going to climb the temperature back up. Partly cloudy skies, a high around 88, low of 62. And then Saturday and Sunday, the highs are going to be back around 92 on Saturday, and it looks like probably 87 degrees on Sunday. Currently outside in Benton Harbor, 71 degrees, 73 in St. Joseph, and 72 in South Haven. Some of the news that we're following from the WSJM newsroom. We have more to talk about as far as Benton Harbor. They have lost their some grant funding, significant grant funding that came through the state, that came through the federal government. Yeah, the solar plans for Benton Harbor now uncertain after the EPA pulled about $156 million in funding for Michigan's Solar for All program. The program aimed to bring affordable renewable energy to low-income communities. Benton Harbor had just received approval for a grant to install solar panels on the rooftops of several city facilities to help lower residents' water bills. Eagle director Phil Roos called that funding cut retroactive and said the program would have created hundreds of local jobs and saved families money. The state is working with the Attorney General on next steps, with the EPA also canceling a $7 billion national solar grant program. The future of any federal grants coming to Benton Harbor for their solar projects remains unclear. Mayor Marcus Muhammad posted reaction on social media saying, if the administration continues to go down this reckless abandon, then I think there are not only going to be heavy political penalties, but the legacy of the president will not be making America great again. So then those comments from Mayor Marcus Muhammad from Benton Harbor. City of St. Joseph officials are taking steps to keep the streets in better shape for longer periods of time and save money in the process. Earlier this week, the City Commission approved $76,000 for the purchase of a Simline crack seal machine. Public Works says sealing the cracks on the roadways annually, especially on newer roads, will help avoid costly reconstruction. City engineer Tim Zebel says the cost of road replacement just keeps increasing.
Construction inflation has been such that in the later years, the projects just keep coming in over, even when we apply an inflation factor. So it's been a real challenge for us and our consulting engineers.
Zebel says with the purchase of the crack seal machine, city crews will be able to execute an annual plan to maintain existing roads, extending the life of area roadways.
A reconstruction project, the road is designed to last for 20 years. That's if you don't do any treatment to it, it'll fail after 20 years. And obviously we don't want to handle it that way. That's not good asset management.
The city's move to purchase the machine rather than contract for that work, followed by a presentation showing the city commission routine maintenance can cost about $138,000 per mile. That's compared to the more than $4 million per mile for full reconstruction. Officials say the machine should last up to 25 years, and the purchase came in under budget. The city plans to begin using the equipment this year as part of a broader effort to keep good roads good and stretch infrastructure dollars farther. St. Joseph Public Schools is inviting community members to a series of coffee chats to talk about its $59.9 million bond proposal that will appear on the November ballot. Superintendent Kristen Bach says the informal meetings will explain how the plan, reshaped after a failed vote, focuses on the most urgent needs at the district's 6 schools and the transportation department.
We will be scheduling some coffee chats that will be on our website. We'll also have a website that will be active and live today, sjpsfuture.org. And there we'll list exactly where I'll be. Informal coffee chats. I invite anyone from the community to come and join and just get information.
The new proposal has earmarks for infrastructure repairs, technology upgrades, and security improvements. Bach says that's a direct reflection of the feedback that they received after last May's vote.
We took all of that feedback. We thought deeply about how to continue to maintain our learning environments for our students while also being financially responsible for our taxpayers as well. And we're pleased that we're able to bring this to the voters.
Bach says the bond would not raise taxes, keeping the current 3.7 mill rate in place. Coffee chat schedules and project details are online. You can find a link in the story at WSJM.com. And the South Haven Regional Business Hub is launching its 2025 Leadership Accelerator. Organizers say this intensive 7-month program aims to equip both emerging and established leaders with practical skills, strategic insights, and valuable connections. Debbie Howe is the board chair for the South Haven Regional Business Hub and says the course is designed for both emerging and experienced leaders who are ready to advance their career to the next level.
It's called strength-based leadership. So it's taking a look at what are your strengths and how can you accelerate those strengths and work in a team environment that kind of helps make our economy grow stronger by providing a stronger leadership.
Howe says the program offers a comprehensive curriculum focused on personal growth, professional development, and community engagement. Instruction is led by seasoned local leaders. She says the full program cost is $1,500, which might be challenging for some, but worth it.
There's an investment, but I think if you become focusing on leading yourself and for others, the investment pays back.
Some scholarships for the course are available. Sessions will be held Thursdays at Lake Michigan College's South Haven campus. Howe says the initiative is a collaboration between the South Haven Regional Business Hub, the Southwest Michigan Regional Chamber of Commerce, Lake Michigan College, and Purpose Partners, supported by the South Haven Area Community Foundation. Applications open next Tuesday. That's August 19th. For more information, you can see the news story at our website, which is WSJM.com. That's a look at some of the local news that we have from the WSJM newsroom. We have more to talk about this hour. In fact, let's start that discussion right now with Amy Dirlam, who is the Assistant Superintendent for St. Joseph Public Schools, and a whole lot more as far as artificial intelligence is concerned. Good morning, Amy. It's good to see you.
Good morning, Ken. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for coming into the studios and talking about AI. Before we jump into that, by the way, Amy is leading the the district's AI task force. Accurate?
Correct. Yes,
Okay.
With several members. Yes.
Several members are part of that. You're also a voice on the county level and at the state level. You're part of the AI statewide task force for the state of Michigan, led by Michigan Virtual, which has origins basically in online learning.
Origins in online learning, but also branching out into assisting schools with consulting services. And also they really have been instrumental in helping districts think about AI integration. And
Okay.
they have an AI lab. And a lot of our work has come from the resources they've provided, and also with the goal of helping districts across the state and even across the country.
Okay, we'll talk about your origin story here on the video live stream in just a moment. But first, when we're thinking about artificial intelligence, when did artificial intelligence, as it's thrown about today, when did it first come onto your radar screen?
So interestingly, I have spent most of my career in St. Joseph Public Schools, about 28 years actually,
Yeah.
but for a couple of years recently, I was working at the county at Berry and Risa.
Okay.
And in that job, I was a technology and innovation consultant, so helping districts think about technology and how they're implementing it into the education environment.
Yeah.
I was co-leading with my colleague there, a group of regional educator, and we called them innovators, ed tech innovators. And one of the members of that group, who happened to be a St. Joseph Public Schools teacher, said, "Hey, I think maybe we should start talking about this AI thing. I think
Oh.
it's going to really change the way we do business in our classrooms." And I think that was in the fall of, I'd say, maybe 21,
Okay.
when that conversation first came on the radar.
Wow.
And so it's been fascinating to. I misspoke. Fall of 22. Let me
Fall
take
of
that back. Yes, that was
2022.
fall of 2022.
Okay. All
Yes,
right.
I was a year early. I'm sure many people were talking about it then, but 22, that fall is when it started to come on our radar,
Okay.
to have some intentional conversation.
Wow. Fall of 2022. And fast forward to, we're almost in the fall time of 2025 in just 3 short years. How has it changed since it first got on your radar?
Oh my goodness, it's been exponential. I think the technology itself, I am not an expert in the technology by any means, but just being able to think about the capabilities of AI
Yeah.
and what it's doing not only in our personal lives, but in the business world, and in the education sphere, it's just growing like crazy,
Yeah.
and the possibilities are endless. As far as what has changed in the education world, I think fear initially was
Yeah.
what came on the scene,
Sure.
because there was this reaction to, oh my goodness, students can use AI to cheat. What am I going to do? How am I going to react to this?
Yeah.
How are we going to keep it out of our classrooms? And I've seen a tremendous shift in that, which I think is important, because anytime we try to ban or block something, it still finds its way in, right? And so
Wait a sec. Calculators in the math room. What? Okay.
exactly. So I think the biggest shift that we have seen would be thinking about how to embrace it responsibly, how to provide the guidelines, and there's a hunger. There's a hunger
Yeah.
for this in the education world around what should we do? How should we approach this? And so that's been the work that we've been focused on, not only in St. Joseph Public Schools, but also at the county, at the state, basically to provide those resources, roadmaps, essentially, of how does this fit with your district culture? And there's really not one way to integrate your guidelines and your policies, because every district is different and in a different space. So I
Yeah.
think that's the biggest shift that we've seen.
Wow. It's fascinating. So we're going to explore that this hour with Amy Dirlam. She's the Assistant Superintendent of St. Joseph Public Schools and on the AI task force for the school district. So we'll talk about that with her. We'll start that conversation right here on the video live stream right now. We'll come back and visit with you some more on the radio in just a couple of minutes. But right now we've got to get at sports and Dave Wolf.
The Tigers.
Do you feel like, good morning and welcome back to the video live stream. Amy Dirlam is our guest this morning. And do you feel like, so I think about push and pull, and a lot of the work that I've done in the past, including with your husband at Whirlpool Corporation, by the way, we both worked there.
That's right. Yes.
We
He
did-
speaks very highly of you. So
Oh,
I'm excited to meet you in person.
Oh, thank you. Tell Mike he's great.
I will.
Yeah,
He
I
is
mean,
great.
yeah, he is great. But we worked on a lot of change management stuff together.
Yes.
Really changing and modernizing the way a lot of the engineers work at Whirlpool. I mean, because they're doing amazing things. Doing amazing things in a different way was what we were trying to do. And so a lot of that change management, it was a push to get folks to do what you were asking them to do. In totally opposite of that, AI I feel like it's a pull. Everyone wants to explore it. They want to use it. They want to see it. I mean, when I say everyone, the early adopters, they want to use it. And so there's that pull and I think students are the same way. They want to get more information. Instead of let me Google that for you, it's like, let me AI that for you and get a real comprehensive response and some thought that others have put into the web somewhere. So how are you dealing with this? I mean, because it's like drinking from a fire hose, I got to imagine.
It is. And so what we heard I'll start with just the work at our school district, and then I can talk more about the work at, beyond.
Yeah.
Last October, based on what we were hearing from teachers, principals, students, families to a degree, is that there needed to be some guidance, because AI was coming, was here. Some teachers were early adopters. Students, of course, were experimenting with different tools. And so we needed to develop guidance. And so to deal with that pull, I think it's all about clarity. And that's true with any type of any work really,
Sure.
but especially with this work. So our task force started in October. It's comprised of K-12 teachers in the district, as well as our chief information technology officer, myself, and then we have a principal who's also sitting on the group with us. And we spent the year studying, learning, surveying our teachers, finding out what their concerns were so that we could then respond with some guidance to provide that clarity around what do we believe as a district? Where is AI's place in our teaching, in our learning? How can we provide that guidance for students? And most importantly, focusing on the human aspect of teaching and learning.
Yeah.
And so it can all be boiled down to that, honestly, is really keeping the human in the center of education, because education and learning is social and the relationship piece is key.
Yeah. Okay. More coming up on that in just a moment. We've got to get a quick weather forecast, and then we'll be back on the radio with Amy Dirlam, Assistant Superintendent at St. Joseph Public Schools.
A few areas of patchy fog to start, but otherwise a sunny day. We'll see cooler, less humid conditions moving in. High temperatures this afternoon at 83. Clear skies and down all the way to 57 overnight tonight, and tomorrow sunny skies with high temperatures at 84. We're back to 88 near 90 Friday and then through the weekend. I'm WSBT 22 Chief Meteorologist Carrie Peugeot.
The Morning Show with Ken Lundberg on WSJM.
7:21, it's the WSJM Morning Show. Good morning. I'm Ken Lundberg. My guest this morning is Amy Dirlam. She's the Assistant Superintendent at St. Joseph Public Schools. On in between the live stream and coming back on the radio, I asked a quick question. I said, "Do your colleagues know that you're on the show today?" And you said,
Oh, yes.
"Oh, yes." And the fam.
And the fam.
And the fam are watching,
Well, we've
so-
had the group chat going early because, as we talked about, it is my husband's birthday today. So
That's right.
everyone was up early saying happy birthday. And guess
Aw.
what? Mom's on the radio.
That's your gift to him.
Yes, exactly.
Okay. Well, Mike, we love you. So thank you for what you do. We appreciate you greatly. And happy birthday, and enjoy your peach cobbler. Amy Dirlam, Assistant Superintendent, St. Joseph Public Schools. The topic that we're talking about this morning is artificial intelligence and education. And in St. Joseph Public Schools, you've been talking about this for quite some time. And before we go further into how the schools are guiding educators to guide our young people as far as AI goes, let's talk a little bit more about you, your origin story. Who are you? Where are you from? Start at birth.
Oh, goodness. Well, I'm a Buckeye.
Oh,
so
okay.
That's not always popular.
That's unfortunate for you, yeah.
Michigan. However, I've fallen in love with Michigan.
Oh, good.
So we've been here 30 years now. Moved to Michigan after I got married. Went to college in Ohio at Miami University and became an educator. And my original my education career started teaching middle school English.
Okay.
And so I was at Upton Middle School for a long time, gravitated toward media and technology, and so did a lot of work in the district supporting that. We raised our family here. My two sons graduated from St. Joe High School, and we've just fallen in love with Southwest Michigan. So, and my journey as an educator has really become about just the intersection of how technology, excellent resources, high quality curriculum can all intersect to produce great teaching, and ultimately the bigger goal of learning.
Yeah.
And so I'm thrilled to be in the district, serving as the assistant superintendent. It's been a goal and a passion of mine to continue to serve. And I love the district. I love my colleagues, and I love the community.
Do you still get to teach in the classroom?
Not as much as I would like.
Okay.
Most of my instruction is with teachers now.
Oh, okay.
Which I actually really, really love. I love the students, of course. I'm finding, that as you are not in a school building, I don't have that relationship. And as I mentioned earlier with this whole AI piece, the relationship with students or with anyone that you're trying to teach is super important. So most of my teaching now is with adults.
Wow. Train the trainer.
Train the trainer.
Yeah,
exactly.
So artificial intelligence, we learned that it really first got on your radar on educators locally, at least as a topic of focus in 2022.
Correct.
And so between then and now, you've been studying it, looking at it, understanding the fears, which I think, when you think about artificial intelligence and you think about the learning in a classroom, that's the primary one. You nailed it. The primary one I think of is, okay, is this going to allow kids to cheat?
Correct.
Which basically means, are they not going to learn? And the one thing that I fear greatly is the loss of the ability to critically think. And
Yes.
so how are you addressing these fears, and what are the fears exactly, and how are you addressing them in the schools?
So I think that that is all about making sure that it is a conversation.
Yeah.
And when we started thinking about this back in 22 and doing some just basic AI literacy and understanding of what the technology is with teachers, that helps them then think about its capabilities and start to think about what are the possibilities for good. So how can I take what I'm already really good at doing as a teacher, the art of teaching, and
Yeah.
then bring in technology to support that? How can it bring in efficiencies that will help me then be able to have more time for relationship building with my students? And when I think about your question around how can we guard against the fears, or how can we equip teachers to work with students with this, it's continuing to focus on the core content, building that knowledge, but also not only the AI literacy, but the media literacy, which has been huge focus for us. And that's about teaching students and reminding students to fact check,
Yeah.
helping them learn how to verify sources. And we can talk a little bit more too about thinking about our assessments and how are we really digging down to what students know, and how we're getting them to deliver that information back to us. I think that AI is definitely going to change our thinking around that, and that's another fear
Mm.
for educators, because we are, especially in our district and many districts, we're good at what we do.
Yeah.
And so this is one more tool in our toolbox, and we need to not fear it. We need to learn about it, but we need to be very clear and intentional with our use.
Yeah. So as you think, one of the things that I think most of us are thinking about is when will, not if, but when will AI replace things that we do today? And in fact, we use it in the newsroom,
Mhm.
and the way we use it in the newsroom is we say, okay, give us more information on what you have on this with sources, so that we can go and look. Or here, take this news release and process it into a first draft of a news story.
Mhm.
These are the things we do. But the hard and fast rule is you have to look at it and read it and review it and fix it, because inevitably it's either might not be the angle that you want, or it might have some factual inaccuracies.
Mhm.
And so there's always that human connection to it. So when you're thinking about the future of teaching, how is AI helping?
So I think, you know, making sure that AI doesn't replace a teacher
Yeah.
is definitely a passion of mine. And in order to do that, we have to be thoughtful about how can AI be the partner with the educator. And so when you think about, I heard a speaker a couple of years ago who I think coined this beautifully. You know, what's the best, or what or who is the best teacher in the world? So when you think about a great teacher and a great teacher equipped with the right tools, that combination, and just like you were saying how you use it in the newsroom,
Yeah.
right? We need that human component overseeing the machine,
Yes.
because it is a machine,
Yeah.
right? And it only is as smart as what it's been trained on.
Right.
And I think if we help students understand that, and we continue to focus on what are those core competencies that we need to build in our kids, which honestly I think are going to continue to shift toward relationship skills, the human interaction element, and equipping students to be able to be thoughtful and mindful in their use of technology, not accepting the first responses they get, which we've been talking about ever since the onset of the internet.
Sure.
But this has accelerated that and the importance of that. And I think we need to also not believe that because our kids have grown up with technology, the term digital native is not new. I mean, these students have had technology in their lives since birth.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean they're expert users. And so in education, that's a responsibility we have to teach them and help them and guide them.
Yeah. We're talking with Amy Dirlam. She's the assistant superintendent for St. Joseph Public Schools and working with AI task force across the state. Tell us a little bit about what that task force is for and how you got on that.
So I've been involved with a group called the Michigan Association of Computer Users in Learning, McCall is how we say that,
Okay.
for many years, since the late 90s, actually.
Okay.
And so I had the opportunity 2 years ago to serve as the president of that organization. And of course, like everyone else, because that would have been 22, 23 timeframe, we were responding to the AI,
Yeah. Yeah.
coming into schools. And Michigan Virtual, who you mentioned a bit ago, had created a framework for school districts to think about how the integration would happen and what were the considerations. And so through my service on McCall, I was able to join the statewide task force, which has been incredible because it's bringing together all the groups in Michigan who are focused on education, and AI is a topic on every one of those groups' radar. And it's allowing us to all be together in the same room or virtual room and talk about what are the concerns and what can we do with a variety of expertise: principals association, school board association, teachers union. The list is endless. Superintendents group, ISD groups. So quite a large group of people coming together with all different expertise to share, this is what we're experiencing, this is what we think needs to be created. And then that's been broken into 5 different subcommittees, and I'm co-chairing the leadership, policy, ethical, legal subcommittee that's helping to basically design the guidance and the resources that schools need to implement.
Wow. What do schools need to implement, and what are you implementing?
Great question. So one of the big things we've been talking about is the difference between policy and guidelines. So our school boards set policy, and we have policy that guides how we do work in the schools. But then the interpretation of that, or how we make that policy actionable in the classrooms, would be to develop a set of guidelines. And so what we're doing is we're looking at what are our guidelines for AI usage in the school, and then we're framing that around the principles and the beliefs that align to our mission, our vision, and the priorities in our district. And so what the task force at the state level has been looking at is how do we create resources where districts can go out and grab what should I be thinking about in the legal ethical side of this? What should I be thinking about in the professional learning? What should I be thinking about in terms of tools and how to vet them for safety? That's a whole other part of the conversation, data privacy and safety. So that's what the task force is doing, is helping districts think through the steps to take and then think about the implementation, because it doesn't happen overnight, even though AI is changing rapidly. Change, especially in schools, can be slow. And so just helping districts react and respond is what that work is.
Okay. We're going to continue this conversation on the video live stream. We have a couple of messages to get to, and then our financial information from our friends at Bloomberg. This is the WSJM Morning Show. I'm just fascinated. There's so many aspects. How do you sort out what do we need to do first?
Yes, sorting out what to do first. Honestly, when our district task force came together in October, we actually started by reading a book. So we read Co-Intelligence by Ethan Mollick, and a lot of people have been reading that. Dr. Mollick is at, I think, the Wharton School at the University of Pennsylvania. And he was one of the first people to really think about the impacts of this at the university level. And the book basically presents the premise that I've been talking about all morning around the human piece, and how do you, the title Co-Intelligence is basically how do we preserve the human aspects of learning and also bring in, the power of the AI.
Yeah.
So that's been our journey, and that's been our challenge. So where do you get started? You get started by learning, honestly. And that's what we did as a task force, and then what we're transferring over to our educators. Because until we've helped our educators understand, it will be very difficult to help our students.
Philosophical question. What's the difference between a human mind and AI?
Oh, goodness. Well, I mean, an AI is not a mind, right? It's a machine. So I think, philosophically, the biggest thing would be ethics.
Yeah.
And the ability.
But we can teach ethics. We can teach ethics to a machine.
Maybe. I think it's got a long way to go.
You're thinking about the Terminator movies, aren't you?
Yes, I'm thinking about, we know that these models are getting to where they are possibly able to reason. And that can be exciting.
Yeah.
But I think we also have to be very mindful of the fact this is not a human.
Yeah.
And there are qualities of us as humans, I hope, always remain human.
Yeah,
right? That's super
absolutely.
important.
Absolutely. And the reason I asked that question is because it does seem with the articles that I've been taking a look at that AI can't replace a lot of service industry.
Correct.
And it can't replace that human interaction of people, the personal touch, the really trying to figure out, okay, what's really going on here and how do we address? But I also worry that some companies may be thinking, yeah, we can replicate that. Good enough. 80-20 rule.
Mm-hmm.
And so I wonder, okay, well, how are we preparing the next generation to reverse the social media training that they've been getting outside of schools to kind of isolate and be in this digital world. How do we bring them back to get those human interaction skills?
I think that's keeping the focus on the human piece. And,
Yeah.
one of the things that I've noticed as far as technology in schools after COVID, technology was key, right, in delivering learning. And so
Sure.
then when we came back into the school environment, we needed to be very intentional about not just having our kids in rows with computers, but using the technology then as the tool to facilitate. It's basically, when you think about AI, it's an assistant. It's another person. I did not say person. It's another entity.
Got in your head.
Yes. And you
Sorry.
did get in my head with that. It's another entity, I guess, in the room, right? And it's another like a partner, not a human, not a
Right.
person. I can't believe I said person. Strike that 100 times. But I honestly, by me saying that, I think that's absolutely the reason why we have to be very clear, starting at a young age with our students, to help them understand this is not a human.
Yeah.
It may sound like a human, it may interact with you like a human, but it is not. It is
Yeah.
a machine.
It's crazy to me because I see on social media, and I know my kids are seeing this, and if my parents were still on the internet, they would see this as well. They're seeing these social media posts of somebody who looks like a living person. They're standing in front of an ocean or a bay or something like that, and they're spreading the message, hey, mom, dad, this is not me. This is an AI generated person. And then you see an alien ship rise out of the water behind them. Everything looks completely real.
Right.
It's amazing. And then we think about, again, artificial intelligence. The movie industry's been doing this forever.
Correct. And we also think about authentic work and copyright. And,
Oh, yeah.
all that's a whole other can of worms. But back to your statement about the image generation and the deep fakes, that's a huge piece of our role as educators, is
Okay.
to help students understand not to accept everything they see,
Yeah.
to learn how to fact check that. And I think our district has been on that journey since the onset of the internet, and helping students be good digital citizens online, and
Yeah.
thoughtful about their consumption of content. But it's never enough. I think exercises in looking at media, looking at images, thinking about creation and verifying them and vetting sources is a huge part of the education piece.
Yeah. I believe about 1% of what I see on social media now. It's just gone down precipitously.
For sure. And also teaching students, the word algorithm, I think, used to be scary because, it was like, oh, only computer science people need to understand that. But I find now, elementary kids know that word, and helping them understand what algorithms are, and how, we need to be aware of how these machines are learning and being trained, and how that's influencing our consumption, especially personally.
Let's hold that for just one moment. Back in just a moment on the WSJM Morning Show.
On Gina Cervetti, Bloomberg Radio.
The Morning Show with Ken Lundberg on WSJM.
Miss a little, miss a lot. It's the WSJM Morning Show. Good morning. I'm Ken Lundberg. 7:37 is the time. My special guest this morning, Amy Dirlam, who's the Assistant Superintendent for St. Joseph Public Schools. And we've been chattering quite a bit about artificial intelligence and some of the philosophical questions behind it. Next on the video live stream, I'm going to ask you your first computer. Your first computer, and then how you're using fast forward to how you're using AI today. So stand by for that. We'll have that on the video live stream. We've got a couple of things to cover here. First, news-wise, the latest world and national news from ABC. We'll get a preview of the stories we'll bring you at 8 o'clock from the WSJM newsroom. We also have sports, Dave Wolf, and then Michigan News Network will bring us state news. It's all coming up.
ABC News, I'm Sherry Preston. National Guard troops now patrolling the streets of Washington, D.C. They began arriving yesterday. ABC Chief Washington correspondent Jonathan Karl is there.
The Army says the National Guard troops will support local law enforcement, and that some have been directed to maintain a presence at national monuments. But that's an area of the nation's capital where crime has been generally low. City officials say the troops will be unarmed, but an Army official said they will have access to their weapons just stored elsewhere nearby.
We've learned that among those killed in the Target parking lot shooting in Austin on Texas Monday, a man and his 4-year-old granddaughter. The gunman stole their car and drove it to the other side of Austin, where he was then apprehended. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky has now arrived in Berlin for talks with U.S. and European leaders on a ceasefire in his country. Presidents Trump and Putin will be discussing peace in Ukraine at a summit to be held on Friday in Alaska. This is ABC News.
WSJM News Now. Team coverage from the WSJM Newsroom on News Talk Sports 94.9 WSJM.
7:39 WSJM Morning Show continues. Good morning. I'm Ken Lundberg. Some of the stories that we have coming up from the WSJM Newsroom at 8 o'clock. Benton Harbor's solar plans now in limbo. They're now uncertain after the EPA has pulled yet another source of federal funding. We'll talk a little bit more about what that means locally. Berrien County Youth Fair is in full swing. With it comes a focus on safety and community. Especially earlier this week and yesterday and probably even today. Going to want to make sure that you hydrate, maybe wear some sunscreen, especially if you're sensitive to that, because it's a hot one out there. Also, downtown St. Joseph is going to be hot this weekend. Talking about sidewalk sales. Yeah, Love Local Weekend is coming to downtown St. Joseph, and they're bringing back sidewalk sales. It's been gone for a few years, so we'll talk about that and how that happened. That's coming up at 8 o'clock right here on WSJM. It's 7:40. We've got more coming up. Sports from Dave Wolf in just a couple of minutes. Right now, state news.
The Michigan News.
All right, back on the video live stream. Let me make sure I've got my commercials in order here for those on the radio. Get rid of that. We'll get rid of that. Okay, good. We are continuing our conversation with Amy Dirlam, who's the assistant superintendent at St. Joseph Public Schools. Again, how long have you been with the St. Joseph Public School System, would you say, working with?
This would be year 29, I guess, with the district, and 31 years in education.
Congratulations on
Thank
that.
you.
That's awesome. What was the first computer you used?
So I had the little Mac Classic. It was kind of it looked like a little box, and I had that when I was in college, and I had a printer, and I actually, it wasn't a laptop, but I would put all of that in a box, and I would take it back and forth from college to home. So it kind of was like a laptop.
Yeah. It's a portable.
Yeah, it was portable, and I love that little computer.
That's cool. My first computer was a Commodore VIC 20. I didn't even get the 64. I had the VIC 20, which had no disk drive, no printer, no modem. It was
none of that. Right?
Yeah, none of that. It basically whatever I programmed into it was on the screen for as long as my mom and dad would let me keep the computer on. When they turned it off, all of it gone. I had to reprogram it the next day. So
the mine I think had a disk drive.
Yeah.
Yes, I remember typing many papers on that in college, and having one of the few devices actually around.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Okay.
It was fun.
Most people had typewriters still.
I think a little bit of that, and computer labs were just coming. Coming onto the scene. So I'm not even sure how. I think it was a combination of a lot of family effort to get that computer and be able to use it. And it was fun. It was fun to use. I held on to it for a long time. I wish I still had it, but I don't.
Oh, it'd probably be worth some money right now. Probably be worth some money. No, I'm just kidding. So when you started using AI, what was the first thing that you started using it for?
I think, most of us gravitated right toward ChatGPT at first, right? To just ask some questions and think how we could interact. But quickly, as an educator, I started to look at a lot of companies came on the scene who were starting to build education-focused tools that laid over top of the models. And so we started, when I was at the county at Berrien RESA, we started to look at some of those different tools and see which ones we thought made sense to be used in classrooms. And they're continuing to evolve and be updated. And I think where we settled on is not so much, this is the tool I want, but this is the problem I'm trying to solve.
Yeah.
So what makes the most sense?
Okay. And how do you use it today?
So today, the uses in schools that we're finding a lot of success with would be to differentiate content for students. So you might take a reading piece, for example, and very quickly be able to take that and output a variety of reading levels. So that can make content accessible for all.
What's an example of that?
So an example might
Shakespeare,
be,
maybe?
or maybe we're just reading a science article, for example, and we might have different ways we want to take that content and not only differentiate the reading level, but we might also want to differentiate the format. So one of the, I think, exciting ways that we can use AI is to look at content and then to produce different, the generative piece allows you to make different media with it. So perhaps you want to make a podcast with the content. We know some students learn better by listening. Maybe we want to turn that into video content. Maybe we want to turn that into images or charts or graphs. And so there's opportunity then to quickly take content and differentiate it. We've been doing that for a long time. It
Yeah.
just was laborious.
Right.
AI makes that easier.
Yeah, I mean, it blows my mind how quickly it can do something like that. For instance, here, take this transcript of this 40-minute interview I did with somebody and distill it down using these lenses. And as soon as I could press enter, there it is.
Yeah.
That's so fast.
It is amazing. And I think for teachers, what we'll be focusing on and what we started to talk about last year is which tools can help increase, like you just said, save you time.
Yeah.
So lesson planning, I mean, teachers are expert lesson planners, and it's always great though to take a great lesson plan and then think about what are some ways this could be improved, or how could I bring some specific engagement strategies into this, or what might be some great next steps after this. And it just, I think that co-partner piece where you can bring AI in to help you create and think and the possibilities are endless.
What do we lose when we take some of that tedious labor out of our work?
Great question, because that reminded me when you were talking about, will AI start to maybe replace some jobs, in the future? I think a fear would be losing some of the grit and the struggle around having to grapple with, that first initial, coming up with the first initial iteration of something. And again, that's where I think as educators and being really clear and intentional in our use, we're looking at helping teachers think through an AI integration scale, essentially, where for this assignment, we don't want any AI because we want original thought. We want you to struggle.
Yeah.
And then maybe after the struggle has happened, we can use the AI then to work with us and help. So I do think that's going to be key. We don't want to lose that. We don't want to lose that critical think time where it's just you with your mind and you're producing your thoughts initially.
Yeah. Okay. No, that makes sense. I like that because that grit, that struggle, it gives you character, and it gives you also, it builds in that recognition for future reference.
It does.
Which can, again, bring solutions that you might not have been thinking about had you not gone through that struggle with something.
For sure. So we have to be thinking about how we're designing our lessons. Maybe the content is more easily accessed, but the interacting with the content is where that productive struggle can come.
Yeah. So we just ask AI, how do we build struggle into this so that our students are learning more? All right. We're going to continue this conversation with Amy Dirlam. She's the Assistant Superintendent for St. Joseph Public Schools. We're talking about artificial intelligence. If you have any questions, absolutely put them into the chat on our video live stream. And thank you for watching on the video live stream. Good morning, Teresa. Appreciate you. Congratulations, she says. Congratulations. What are you congratulating on? All right. We'll be back in just a moment. It's the WSJM Morning Show.
Patchy fog to start, but otherwise a sunny day. We'll see cooler, less humid conditions moving in. High temperatures this afternoon at 83. Clear skies and down all the way to 57 overnight tonight, and tomorrow sunny skies with high temperatures at 84. We're back to 88 near 90 Friday and then through the weekend. I'm WSBT 22 Chief Meteorologist Carrie Peugeot.
The Morning Show with Ken and Friends on 94.9 WSJM.
It's 7:48. WSJM Morning Show continues. It's Wednesday, August 13th. It's Mike's birthday. Happy birthday, Mike.
Happy birthday, Mike Dirlam.
Amy
He'll
Dirlam.
love all these shout outs, I'm sure.
Amy Dirlam. Hopefully there's a shout out jar somewhere at home and he has to put a buck in it every time we say that.
Oh, that would be great.
Yeah, right? Okay.
Happy birthday, Mike Dirlam.
Amy Dirlam is here. She's Mike's wife and Assistant Superintendent of St. Joseph Public Schools. We've been talking about artificial intelligence. Let's make this part of our Moody on the Market update for today. It's brought to you by Insurance Management Service. Call IMS today. They are your local auto owners insurance agency in St. Joseph and in Niles. During the Moody on the Market update, we talk about business updates. We talk about life in Southwest Michigan and why we love it here. And we talk about interesting people you should know. And I think Amy hits at least one of those boxes, probably two. Probably no business updates here today.
Probably not.
Okay, no business updates. But you're interesting, and thank you very much for doing what you're doing with our education and helping guide educators in how we should be thinking about artificial intelligence and how we should be in influencing our students to, again, keep that struggle, keep that grit, get that critical thinking going, and use AI as a tool.
responsibly and ethically.
Yeah,
Yes.
responsibly and ethically. One of the things we were talking about between segments here is a little bit about the human piece and a little bit about parents. What advice would you have for parents, guardians, those who grandparents, those who interact with students who are like all about the AI?
Or all about the technology in
Right.
general,
Yeah.
right? So um, we've been talking in St. Joe's schools ever since we started issuing devices to students about that important partnership between families and the school for responsible use and just setting limits on the use of technology. And a resource that I've drawn on for years that I hope families know about is Common Sense Media.
Okay.
And there are some fantastic tools out there, not just for navigating AI use, but also for looking at any type of media your child or grandchild might be consuming. Particularly some of the different social media tools, age appropriateness, some compacts that you can develop as a family
Okay.
around technology use. Part of our plan, of course, as we roll out our guidance that we've been working on to our teachers first, and then our students and our families, would be to think about, how can we support families with navigating this technology as well.
Yeah. So again, the resource that you mentioned there, say it again.
Common Sense Media.
Okay, Common Sense Media. So I assume they're available on the web.
They are, yeah, commonsensemedia.org. I believe it's
Okay. Okay. And that will give you not only a view into some of the AI questions you might have, but also other media sources, social
Yes,
medias.
exactly. And I think a lot of families are aware. I mean, one of its things it's been doing for a long time is helping parents navigate movies and things. There's
Yeah, I was just
kids may
thinking
wanna
horror
watch, or
movies.
books, or
Horror movies are
mhm.
just fine.
Yeah,
Yeah, blood and gore.
exactly.
No, not
Necessarily, right?
necessarily.
And so this helps. It just helps informed decisions
Yeah.
and helps us navigate, because we know our kids, they're consuming a lot of
Yeah.
information. It's coming at them, and they don't necessarily have the same tools. Well, they don't have the same tools and experience that we have as adults.
Yeah.
And so anything we can do to guide them, whether that's at home or in the school, is important, because if they don't know, then they aren't going to necessarily make the best choices. And so we can help them.
Do you want to acknowledge teachers and their role in this?
I do. So the work that we've been doing in our district to produce guidance for our teachers and our students comes out of, I mentioned earlier, we started a task force in the district back in October, and we have teachers from kindergarten through high school. And I do really want to honor their work and commitment. We spent many, many, many hours learning and talking and looking at our beliefs in St. Joseph, thinking about what our teachers needed. We surveyed teachers. We designed professional learning back in January for them. We're creating some professional learning for them this fall.
Yeah.
And their input was key, because we can read all the theory and the guidance and everything, but really practically talking about how this impacts the day-to-day classroom has to come from the voice of the teachers. We need to respond to what they need.
Yeah. Is AI a good thing?
I think it is. I think if used for good, there's always going to be bad actors out there who may want to not use it for good. But I also wonder, we can have an opinion, but AI is here. So
Yeah.
good or bad, or whatever your position is on it, I think our responsibility as educators is to acknowledge it and get some steps in place of how we're going to navigate it. And then hopefully, our ultimate goal is to prepare our students when they leave us. It's going to be part of their future work world. And
Yeah.
so students who have not had any experience or any understanding of all these different components we've been talking about, I think will be not as well equipped as those who do.
Yeah. So a question I should have asked near the beginning, in your studies and learning about AI and education, what is AI? Have you come across a really good explanation, a boilerplate or a summary, a distilled summary of what is AI? How should people who have heard about it, but they don't really know how it does its magic behind the scenes, what is AI?
So I feel like I spent so much time learning that to be able to get it into a condensed definition is difficult. But basically, it's exactly what it sounds like: artificial intelligence, right? It's the training of a machine or a computer to draw on all of the information it's been given, and then use that to either analyze or create. Generative AI is then the ability to create new content with that information. So
Yeah.
it's like we talked about before, kind of like a co-thinker, if you view it that way, but it's not really thinking. It is only producing content that it's been given. And I think when we start to think about for ourselves the ramifications, that's where we need to be very intentional too, to help our students, our teachers understand it's not always right.
Yeah, for sure.
And just like humans aren't always right, but it also may not have it doesn't have the ethics, and the true brain and mind that a human does. And so we have to guard against just accepting the information that we get.
Agreed, 100%. 7:55 WSJM Morning Show continues. That's our Moody on the Market update for this hour. It's brought to you by Insurance Management Service. Call IMS today, your local auto owner's insurance agency in St. Joseph and in Niles. Back to conclude this conversation in a couple of moments. We'll continue on the video live stream right here with Amy Dirlam, Assistant Superintendent at the St. Joseph Public Schools. The topic, artificial intelligence.
Rich Fran and Tara Collins.
And to those of you on the video live stream who don't want to talk about artificial intelligence anymore, my apologies in advance. But we'll only be here for another 5 minutes today to talk about it. So, it just blows my mind again how fast everything is happening with artificial intelligence. I was reading a story, Wall Street Journal, I think it had two different stories about McKinsey consultants. And so anyone in the corporate world knows in education, when you call in the McKinsey consultants, there's a problem or at least an opportunity you want to address, and they're going to come in, take a look at everything, develop some suggestions, some PowerPoint presentations, some roadmaps on how you can change. McKinsey is totally being upended now by AI because they're finding that a lot of their senior consultants, the work can be done in an instant by AI. And so they're having to go back and relearn that human aspect. And sorry, McKinsey consultants, now they're going to be on the hook for actually executing the plans they develop.
I was just going to say, AI allows us to make and create content, but the actual execution and delivery, and when I think about teaching, for example, that's the art. That's where the real magic happens. When you take a great teacher and a great group of students and you're able to have that thoughtful discussion around the content. So AI is just one piece or tool that can just further enhance that. And that's why we would use it. If we already, we wouldn't necessarily use it to solve a problem we don't have. But when we think about where we need additional assistance or something we can do more efficiently, then we might turn to AI for that.
Yeah. I like how you put that. It makes me think it really doesn't have the heart. It doesn't have the art. It doesn't have the soul of bringing about creative solutions, at least not yet.
It is a machine.
wait until somebody decides, hey, we need to give them human rights as well. That'll be interesting. Somebody will try it. They will.
Well, and that's the piece where I think we just have to keep learning and keep thinking ourselves about what is the purpose? Are we being intentional? Are we being thoughtful? And are we being safe?
Yeah. Which AIs do you use?
I tend to gravitate. We're in the Google environment, so I've been leaning on Gemini quite a bit. I like their Notebook LM tool. I do use ChatGPT.
Okay.
Full disclosure, I don't pay right now for any of the LLMs.
Me either.
I'm trying to see, especially from an education and equity standpoint, I want to see what can we use that's free. Now we are going to look at piloting some education specific tools this school year, and we'll do some free, some paid, but part of that is being able to deliver to all of our students a common experience.
We have to get back on the radio. I use Claude.
Oh, I like Claude too. Yes. And Claude, of all of them, in its early days, I think was billed as maybe the one that had the most personality, but also really tried to cite sources early on and vet its content.
Okay, hang on one moment. We'll be back on the radio here.
The Morning Show with Ken and Friends on 94.9 WSJM.
It's been a great discussion this hour with Amy Dirlam, Assistant Superintendent at St. Joseph Public Schools. She's leading the district's AI task force. She also serves on the state board. They have an AI statewide task force for education. And thank you very much for sharing the information that you have this morning.
Thank you so much for having me.
Did we not cut? Yeah, absolutely. And again, happy birthday to Mike. Anything we left out in the 10 seconds that we have?
I think just that this is important and collaborative work. And I'm excited that the work our district's doing, and I'm excited that we're having these conversations at the county and the state level because
Yeah.
it's important.
I'm very pleased that there's somebody like yourself working on that issue, because you think about AI and how fast it's moving. Somebody's got to get in front of it as you can, or work alongside it and help the students understand and help educators and parents understand this is how we should be thinking about it. So thank you.
That's our goal. Thanks
Yeah.
for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. It's 7:59. We've got a good weather forecast for today. It's going to be a bit cooler. The humidity is supposed to drop off, and then we have probably a low overnight. So the high today is supposed to be around 83 degrees, low overnight around 53.
From ABC News, I'm Sherry Preston. The National Guard on the National Mall.